I'm a little sick in a bar, and the waiter comes and asks me, excuse me, how many beers have you drunk? And I answer, well, I suppose you mean how many pints or how many bottles of beer I have drunk, don't you? What's the problem? The problem is that beer is uncountable. You can say how many beers, meaning how many bottles or how many pints of beer, but you cannot say how many beer, right? You can say beers, meaning pints, but simply how many beers is not possible. Technically, it's not possible because beer is uncountable, right? But colloquially people say beers. The same as in other countries, they also say the same. It's also uncountable, but they also use the plural with the drink, right? With the beer. Well, anyway, don't worry, because now we're going to have a look at countables and countables, how to use them, etc. in our session 9, right? So we're now going to our PowerPoint presentation, but not without reminding you, you know, right? Our likes, our comments, our suggestions, which are really very, very valuable, right? So continue. I know some of you are sending them, are sharing them with the channel, but I welcome all of them that you can send or that you can share with us, right? So continue sending them. And now let's go to our PowerPoint presentation, session 9. Let's go. All right, here we are in our PowerPoint presentation. This is the logo of the channel, session 9, as I told you, adjectives of quantity, number 2, second part, right? How many left? When you say how many left in English, you mean is there anything left of the object, the amount, the matter that you are talking about, right? In this case, how many left? 6 minus 2 equals 4. So how many left? 4. All right. So there remain 4. Let's continue. So adjectives of quantity second, as I already tell, a little or a little, few or a few, much, many, left, right? Well, question, is there rice left in the pack to cook? Meaning, is there still any rice in the pack? That is the meaning, right? Answer, no, there is little rice. No, there is little rice left. Little means that there is very little quantity, right? No more than that. Oh, yes, there's a lot of, or there's little rice left. If you say there's a lot of, or there's little rice left, then the emphasis is positive, right? Because a little is more than little. Little has a negative sense and a little has a positive sense, right? As we will say later. Are there doubts left about the project? Meaning, are there still any doubts, right? Yes, there are lots of doubts left, or there are a few doubts left, meaning if there are a lot, if it's a lot, then you mean a lot of quantity, no? There are still many doubts. And if you say a lot, if you say a few doubts, you mean that they are enough to worry you, right? More than you would like. Enough. We don't need any more. Enough is the same as we don't need any more, right? And we can use enough with countables and uncountables, as you can see here, right? So let's have a look. On Mondays, we buy enough food for all the week. Meaning, if it's enough, you mean that you don't need any more. It's you're satisfied with the amount of food, right? We buy enough. If you want to use enough as a pronoun, you can also do it, right? In this case, we say we buy enough for all the week. And you may say, yeah, but enough what? Obviously, if we are talking about food, then it will be enough food. Plenty of. When you say plenty or plenty of, you mean which is more than enough, right? And you can also use the pronoun with countables and with uncountables. You can see this is very graphic, very illustrative in the image. Plenty of, you can see the cotton cloud has a middle size, right? However, if you say a lot of, it's more than plenty of. Teenagers have plenty of technical knowledge to know that mobiles can be dangerous. You mean that teenagers have more than enough knowledge to know that mobiles can be dangerous, right? More than enough, which is plenty of. Children have access to plenty of resources online to do anything. Plenty of resources means that they have a lot of resources at their disposal. Or simply, yes, they have plenty, if you want to use it as a pronoun, right? How much? Questions on uncountables. When you want to ask about uncountable nouns, you use how much. For example, in the image that has just appeared, if you talk about money, the question would be how much money. You can never say how many money, right? Many, because money is uncountable and many is for countables. Consequently, you have to use much. How much money? You can ask how much coffee do you drink, because coffee is uncountable, but as you can see in the image, you can ask about cups of coffee, right? How many cups of coffee? How much money does your family need to live? So how much money? Because as we have just seen, money is for uncountables. It's uncountable, sorry. How many questions on countables? How many questions you want to ask? In this case, question is countable, so you can say how many questions. In this case, we're dealing with questions on countable nouns, right? Examples. How many journeys do you make in a week? How many journeys do you make in a week? Or how many holidays do you take every year? All of them. Holidays and journeys are countable nouns. For this reason, you must use how many, right? Very good. So let's continue. In this case, we are going to have a look at the practice. In this case, the practice, as I always insist, is about things that you would normally say in your normal life, and I've tried to assume your role and imagine the typical things that any one of you would say in their different environments: professional environment, familiar environment, friendly environment, and so on, right? And this is obviously I give you this type of sentences in the form of an exercise for you to solve, and then next week we will correct it. Fill in the gaps with the right quantity, adjective, or pronoun. And here you have the sentences with the gaps, and you have to, depending on the sentence, depending on the context, you have to know which adjective or pronoun you have to use. And just to remind you of them, you have a scale of amount here, from few in the case of countables or little in the case of uncountables, to more quantity, no? Most, all, every, all, most, much, many in the other case, and so on, right? With examples about how many and examples about how much. In this case, how much bread, or how many films, right? Very good. And then the online practice in agendaweb.org, grammar exercises 1 for many, much, few and little, and then a reminder of mansioninglish.com if you want to check explanations, in this case in Spanish, right, for Spanish speakers. And then obviously a reminder of the webreference.com, the dictionary. And that's all for today, folks. If you have enjoyed the explanation, if you have learned, if you think this has been useful, if you like this channel, sign up, all right, and become a part of this big family of our channel. Thank you very much for your attention. See you next week. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.